Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Mainly a cold rain for much of the region, but it is expected to get icy overnight. Parts of northern and western Kentucky have been dealing with freezing rain and sleet for hours. Around 18,000 people in the state are without power, mainly in western Kentucky, although around 2,500 are in the dark in Pike County, but that is not believed to be weather related. Meteorologist Evan Hatter begins our Severe Weather Alert Day coverage. Evan?
Yes, Steve, good evening once again, and not gonna lie, this has been a rather complicated forecast as we've been watching the freezing line ever so slowly move to the south and east, and the question has become this evening, can that freezing line get here before the moisture runs out? Well, we've seen plenty of moisture so far today. I-64 at Moorhead, the road is soggy right now, but not too far below freezing that we're seeing too much in the way of freezing on it. We are actively raining right now in downtown Whitesburg, where it is still 44, but those north-northwest winds bringing in the cold air. It is quite the contrast around the region. We're not far from the mid-50s right now at Pine Mountain. You go up to Hazard, not too far up 15, it's 34, and it's 29 in Lexington. So we're bringing in the cold air slowly but surely through the mountains. But here's a look at Pinpoint Doppler. Many of us still just plain Jane rain right now, but look off to the north and west. We're slowly creeping that freezing line southward, but we look off to the south and west and we have to think, do we have enough moisture to continue seeing some of that freezing rain? I do still think freezing rain is possible overnight, but it's perhaps some of those totals may get cut down a little bit by that dry slot moving in. Either way, it will be a cold night, rain changing to freezing rain, and even if we don't see a lot of ice on the roads, we're still going to have to contend with the potential for a flash freeze as those temperatures crash. I'll have the full details coming up in just a moment here before too long. But Steve, we've still got some weather to contend with before things are all said and done.
Well, and I don't think most people will complain if those totals have to be scaled back a little bit. Evan, thank you very much. Now, so far, no major problems reported on Interstate 75 tonight. WYMT's Zach Hawk is in London. He's in an area that was expected to see freezing rain a little earlier than most of us. Zach, I'm sure it's getting cold out there. Any change in the road conditions from 6?
Yeah, Steve, it is definitely getting a bit colder out here, but no, the roads are still fine as they were earlier this evening. That said, I've spoken with a few travelers who are telling me that when you get a bit north of London, that's when it can get a little dangerous. Severe weather in London. The day began with the threat of flooding. By evening, it is ice on the minds of emergency teams, and staying off the roads means less delays when they start to work.
When there's accidents, we're having to, and other agencies are having to clear those accidents. And then that kind of delays us, to go ahead and treat or plow the roadways.
Bad weather tends to be good business, at least for the hotels lining I-75 in Laurel County.
With the weather, you can tell people trickling in every few hours. By the end of the night, I hope to be over half capacity. But I know as the night fades, there's going to be more and more people coming in.
Travelers settling in for the night is exactly what road crews want to see, because as the temperatures continue to drop, this rain will turn to ice and create a serious hazard.
Drive slowly, no matter what type of vehicle you drive. It takes more time and distance to stop your vehicle in the weather conditions, and brake early and slowly.
With the storm arriving late, crews will be out early, and you are asked to give them room.
Maintain a safe distance from the snow plows and the other heavy highway equipment. And, one thing we definitely ask is not to pass the snow plows on the shoulder.
Safety officials say do not risk it and give road crews or power crews space to work. The roads might be fine right now, but officials do want me to remind people that it will be the bridges and exit ramps that do freeze first. But for now, live in London, Zach Hawk, WYMT, Mountain News.
Zach, thank you very much. And of course, if we hear of any issues on the interstate overnight, we'll pass those along. Big Sandy road crews are keeping their eyes on the forecast as the winter weather moves through the upper portions of our region. Road crews have been preparing all week but the main efforts have to wait until ice is actually on the ground, so work crews are just on call. Once the ice falls, workers say there are certain factors like fallen trees and power outages that could create an even trickier night for cleanup and clearing efforts.
When utility lines are tangled in down trees, that's something that we do not clear those trees until the utility companies have a chance to come out there and address those lines. We don't want to take a chance on a line being alive or it being restored and we're not aware and we're out there working.
Crews say they plan to battle the ice as it comes down, and like we've been saying all day, you're encouraged to stay home and give crews room to work. Well, we've seen plenty of snow in 2022, but this winter storm is a bit different. WYMT's Jordan Mullins has more from Pike County, where officials are reminding folks about the dangers that come with icy conditions and how to be prepared.
Officials in Pike County are monitoring the upcoming storm closely. Flooding was a major concern, but has since been largely ruled out as the National Weather Service changed liquid precipitation totals.
We're only looking at about a ½ an inch of rain to this point. So with that being said, if we do get another inch, if it doesn't all come in an hour, we should be okay as far as what they're predicting for this storm.
But Jackson and his team at Pike County Emergency Management are still remaining vigilant as conditions could worsen overnight.
The morning commute's going to be kind of dangerous if the temperatures don't come up a whole lot, and we're looking at temperatures in the 30s. So, it's optimum for anything freezing at that point in time.
And with 1 to 2/10 of an inch of ice accumulation possible, power outages, fallen tree limbs, and fallen lines become more dangerous.
Fallen trees, fallen limbs, especially if they get in power lines, stay away from those.
Jackson and other officials also suggest being prepared for an outage with alternate heating methods.
Try to be proactive, make that happen now, between now and 2 a.m. in the morning. Don't be scrambling to try to get alternate methods of heat.
Advising folks in Pike County to stay safe and warm through more winter weather. In Pikeville, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Jackson also says to avoid the roads until daylight if possible, but to drive slow and watch out for frozen bridges if travel is necessary. Governor Andy Beshear discussed the winter storm earlier today and is also advising folks to stay home. Although southern and eastern Kentucky are not expected to be hit as hard as other parts of the state, we could still have slick roads, scattered power outages, and some other damage. Governor Beshear says our region needs to be prepared for possible flooding as well.
We do believe that there is going to be some ice. We do believe that there's going to be some snow, and then there's a whole lot of precipitation, especially in the southeast where we would anticipate flooding.
Now, fears of flooding have died down quite a bit throughout the evening. There are no reports of major flooding so far anywhere that we've heard across eastern Kentucky. But much of northern and central Kentucky are already seeing the impacts of the freezing rain. Government offices in Elizabethtown closed at noon, and emergency warming shelters have been put on standby. At the Pritchard Community Center, a large portable generator as well as trailers with medical supplies and items from the Red Cross have been stationed if they are needed. The ice threat kept grocery stores very busy. The manager at an E-Town grocery store says this is the busiest they've been since the start of the pandemic as shoppers prepped for winter's worst.
Just a few things just in case power goes out. You never know. You've got to have things that you can eat when it's cold.
The Ace Hardware store has also been busy. They were down to their last few shovels, heaters, and bags of salt earlier today. We have more local weather coverage and the latest closings on the WYMT News app. If you've not downloaded the app, just take a scan of the code on your screen with your phone. This will take you to a link to our news app that you can download. You can always find the latest closings and delays along with breaking news alerts. We encourage you to download both the WYMT News and weather apps. They both come in handy. Well, the wintry system over us now is impacting more than a third of the continental U.S., covering an area from Maine to Texas. Much of Texas was coated in a blanket of snow and ice. The memory of last year's disastrous cold snap still fresh in the minds of many Texans. Icy power lines and fallen tree limbs knocked out electricity to thousands and has made travel in much of the Lone Star State treacherous.
We are dealing with one of the most significant icing events that we've had in the state of Texas in at least several decades.
Workers at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport spent the day clearing the runways and de-icing planes. Limited flights have resumed at Dallas-Fort Worth, but nationwide there are close to 2,000 flights already canceled for Friday, mostly in the Northeast, and most flights we understand out of Lexington were canceled today, thousands nationwide. Well, a state of emergency due to water in Hazard continues due to the shortage that was announced earlier this week, but city officials tell us crews have been working around the clock restoring services. City Manager Tony Eversole says the north end of the county should slowly get water, while the mayor says the south end is in pretty good shape now.
We're making repairs, and we made leaps and bounds each and every day. And people need to think too, we're on day 4, but we've all lived through where it's been weeks.
The state of emergency will remain in effect a few days after service is fully restored, so crews can double check that systems are working correctly. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, Miss Kentucky Haley Wheeler spoke to Eastern Kentucky students today, offering some advice on leadership.
And watching that potential from anywhere to a glaze to a quarter to half inch of ice in some spots. I'll have the latest on that ice storm bearing down coming up next.